What's up, gang? Welcome to The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mershazde. I'm so pumped to have you here with me. Now listen, The Greatness Machine, we're about two things. Number one, people who are living their passions. And number two, those who are creating greatness in the world and doing both of these things despite the odds against them. Each episode, we're going to feature interviews with game changers, business leaders, telling us their origin stories, what made them tick, what got them to where they are now. Why? So it can help you step into your greatness within your life, your business, and your career. Occasionally, you might hear a few solo episodes from myself, moi, as I say, as I leverage my 20 years of entrepreneurship as a CEO and founder to help you grow and level up in your journey to scale your life and your business. So come be a fly on the wall, enjoy the conversation, and I'm stoked to have you here with me. What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mershazde, and man, I'm flying solo. It's been a minute. Took the summer off from doing solos. Now I'm going to say this. I only do solos when I'm feeling inspired. And I always keep a list in my phone of solos. But I've been mentoring a certain individual for a few months now, and young entrepreneur. And he's asking me questions around investing. And so I know I've talked to you all, about my journey through entrepreneurship. I haven't really talked a lot about post-exit though. And so post-exit, I had a bit of a crazy situation happen, which has now led to starting Rise Growth Partners. But what I haven't talked about was, what a lot of entrepreneurs don't talk about, which is, what's it like when you leave your business and, when you have your business and you're going, you have cash flow coming in because you're getting paid. And then when you exit, you have this moment where you get a sum of money. And the larger the exit, the larger the sum of the money. My exit was an okay exit. It was something that was, meaningful, but it wasn't like end of days where I'm like, picking my island I want to buy. But I've also, kind of set myself up over the years by just working really hard and probably the very tax inefficiently, made a lot of earned income through my businesses, paid a lot of tax. So I've kind of positioned myself as an entrepreneur and built wealth over the years in a fairly inefficient taxable way. So, that being the case, I'm not a great example. My real estate friends are much more tax efficient than I am because they get a lot of depreciation. My private equity friends are much more tax efficient because they have carried interest. And we have a tax code that supports both of those ways of earning wealth. And I am not in those camps. I was a person that paid a ton of tax and have continued to pay a ton of tax pre-exit. But that being the case, today we're going to talk about how entrepreneurs and I think folks that are doing well in life, how we're creating greatness, a lot of that is around freedom. And I have a belief that, one of the best ways to create freedom is to not have to do something to earn a living. And the way that I think you do that is, as my friend Justin Donald said, is around creating cash flow. But this isn't just around cash flow. This is around how I think entrepreneurs and folks that want to create freedom need to think about investing. Because one of the things I learned when I exited my business was that just because you're good at making money doesn't mean you are good at investing your money. And I went on a couple-year journey post-exit where I was a student and I met a lot of people. I joined Tiger 21. I invested in a bunch of different investments and I learned a lot about myself in that process. And so today's episode and the next few solos episodes are going to be around how I think every entrepreneur needs to think about investing, both pre-exit and post-exit. And we're going to be talking about, I'm going to give the list right now because I think this is going to really talk about the next few. This is going to be probably 10, 15 part series where we're going to talk about like, what are the things you need to think about as you want to build financial freedom for yourself, as you have money that you can invest. And if you're the average person, like I'm going to tell you, go get a financial advisor. And I still think I have a financial advisor. I'm actually getting a second financial advisor right now. So some of the money I have with financial advisors, but that from that perspective, I don't like to go in and just be some person that they tell me what's up, and I just blindly say, yeah, I don't know how my money works. I think knowing how your money works is really important, because if someone loses your money, it's you you only have yourself to blame. And there's plenty of people out there that will give you bad advice, and there's plenty of people out there that will not get you what you want. And I do think that as entrepreneurs, we have these skill sets of making money. We're really good at, generally, if you're a good entrepreneur, you are good at creating wealth. But creating wealth and preserving wealth are two different things. And I think a lot of times, and what I noticed was that a lot of entrepreneurs think just because they're good at making wealth, that means they're good at managing their wealth, even with financial advisors. So if you're a person that is not inquisitive about this, will be a person that doesn't need to listen to this. You just give it to a financial advisor that's well respected, has great reviews, and is good at preserving wealth. That's one of the things that you're going to want to really assess for. And don't expect that they're there to make you money. They're there to preserve your wealth and make sure that you stay above inflation, and that risk adjusted, you're earning a little more, and that your money was working for you in a way where you have enough of it where it just keeps earning for you, and you can figure out how to efficiently give it to your family once you pass away, and when you want to retire, that there's enough there for you to live off of. This is not what these solos are going to be about. This is really around people that want to be more actively involved in earning money with their money. And so, I'm going to go down the list really quickly of the things that we're going to be talking about over the next few weeks. But one of the things that really got me here was when I exited my business, I realized that I did not have any passive income very much. I had some, and I had bought an apartment building in my early 20s in San Francisco. That was throwing off some free cash flow. But besides that, I was a person that didn't have much in the way of passive income, and that really freaked me out. I had cash that I had kind of squirreled away, that I viewed that as a reserve for my business in case my business needed a cash infusion from the outside. I didn't want to have to, depend on anyone to use that, or at least have somewhat of a backstop, that if I didn't have to go and find money from other people, right, I could use some of my own cash, and I'll talk about that in the episode of why I did that. And let me say this: a lot of the stuff I did is because I'm super conservative. So there's a perspective. I at least have a perspective around having knowing what type of a investor you are, and if you're less conservative, that's okay too. But just own it, know it, and it'd be okay that you might have money tied up, you might lose money. These are all things that might happen as part of being less conservative. I'm super conservative, so much so where I probably cost myself a lot of upside, but I'm okay with that because I have to be comfortable with my investments at the end of the day. So let me go down the list really quickly of the things that you're going to want to consider as you look at your investing, and you look at who you're investing with, and you look at the way they're investing even. Because I think sometimes there's, financial advisors don't consider these things that I'm going to say because they're not entrepreneurs. They're not folks that, need to have I guess the flexibility that you need when you are someone that is betting on yourself a lot. So this is about the entrepreneurs. This is really the entrepreneur's guide to investing, really. And I want you to think about it from that standpoint. If you're not an entrepreneur, you're an executive, I want you to just know that this is, I think most people should think like this. Unless you are a person that just has a steady paycheck and that money's coming in and you can depend on it, then some of these rules you can throw them out the window, but at least you can learn from the perspective of what does the entrepreneur's guide to investing really look like. So first of all, we're going to talk about sleeves of risk, concentration risk, position size, risk reward, like what is the risk adjusted reward for the risk you're taking, the market correlation of your investments, your liquidity needs. How much liquidity do you need? When do you need it? How often do you need it? Expenses, right? What are you paying for these investments? What is the investment structure? A lot of that around expenses. I've gotten burned on that. Is there tax efficiency? How does this help you play your game, right? Macro, like does this investment going to help you play your game so you can play your game? Cash flow is a big part of this. So we'll be talking a lot about cash flow. And really, like, what is the role of this investment play for you? How do you think about due diligence? And the biggest one is, what is your investor personality? So I want to take a step back and I want to talk about what got me to the beginning of my journey. And then this is really going to be, we're going to spend a few weeks here talking about this. This will be our Friday series, for a minute, because I think there's a lot to talk about, and I want to really just pour out where my head is at on this, because it's 2024. I started thinking about this 5 years ago, and what got me here was when I decided I wanted to leave my business at the money source. I had this moment where I was like, shit, I don't have very much in the way of passive income. And I was leaving a business. It was a business that was paying, 7-figure income to me. I squirreled away most of that, by the way. I was a person that was, living off of a couple $100,000 a year and putting the rest, paying a bunch of taxes and putting the rest into savings every year. I had, obviously I bought a house, or I built my house, but the rest was just going into cash. And my perspective always was that, oh, the company might need this cash at some point. So I just didn't touch it. Most of what I observed around, business partners and people who around me that have made a lot of money over the years is that they would spend what they made. If they were taking, $500K a year out of the business and, walking with $300K, they would spend $300K. They would spend 100% of it. If it was double that, it was double that. So their lifestyle would just keep incrementally going up with the cash that they were pulling out of their businesses. And I've observed that. That's most people, by the way. That's employees that I've had. I've watched employees that go from 60 to 100 grand a year, and literally they go from a Toyota to a BMW. And I was always like shocked by it, because I was a person that literally was, I drive Volvo, right? So I'm a person that my lifestyle has never really changed too much as my income's changed, because I just like having money. I like putting money in the bank. I like saving money. I like having optionality and freedom and flexibility, and cash gives that to me. And then this goes all the way back to literally the first time in my life I went from having $0 to my name to having $10,000 to my name. I was 23 years old. I was literally negative 10,000, and within a short period of time I was positive 10,000, because I had sold my first mortgages as a loan officer. I made some commissions. I hadn't yet paid any tax on it, and I had 10 grand in the bank. And I remember the feeling of having that $10,000 in the bank was a feeling that was kind of unexplainable. It was like, wow, I don't have to go and grind 7 jobs, which, by the way, I would grind 7 jobs back then, because I was like, I need to have, I was always worried about money. Now, and I want to preface this all by saying I grew up, and until very recently had a very large, and even in some ways still have, a scarcity mentality around money and reserves. So there's been a lot of I guess, dysfunctional thought and beliefs around money. And that came from having grandparents that grew up during the Great Depression, a father that moved here, at 40 years old, with fleeing a country of Iran with us as a family to, rebuild a life from zero, and watching my parents react to that in front of us. There's a lot of fighting in my household growing up around money. So I had a lot of scar tissue there, and a lot of reprogramming that had to happen, that I'm still having to reprogram today. So lots of people have that. Lots of us have a scarcity mentality around money. And that's negative too, right? But it's coming from a place of love and protection, which is why I at least have it. So, I want to say that when I left my business at TMS, I was like, shit, I literally have almost no passive income. I sure as hell can't pay my bills with the passive income that was coming off of my apartment building. It was like a few grand a month, and my overhead was more than that. So I was a person with, call it, 3 times that expense, post tax, and I had a few grand a month coming in. Now, given my income and the wealth I had built over, within my business over that time, that was not a bad situation to be in. But it wasn't great. It wasn't positive either. And so I was freaking out. I was like, man, I have no passive income. And I kind of vowed to myself at that moment that, hey, I'm going to change this. I'm never going to put myself in this position again. I should have more passive income. I should have been more thoughtful about this. And listen, if you go through my entrepreneur story, there's 100 reasons why I did not have passive income. In 08 through 12, when a lot of people position themselves by buying real estate, I was like literally like I had a business that went out of business. I restarted my company 5 times. And I was, just getting back on my feet in 12. And then I had all my money tied up for more or less in TMS, probably 80-90% of my net worth. Liquid, or probably 70-80% of my liquid net worth. Illiquid net worth, that is. And so, when you look at that situation, you're like, well, yeah, man, of course you weren't making investments. You were investing in your business. And we as business owners do that. But I do still think that I could have been more proactive to think about, hey, even if I took 10% of the money I was taking out of the business, I didn't have to take 100%. And that kind of goes back to the sleeves of risk concept that we'll be talking about in the coming weeks, that I should have been being thoughtful about this. And so I was talking to this gentleman I'm mentoring, and I said, look, even if you take 10% of your cash and you go and invest it in cash flow, that's a step in the right direction. So, really the biggest thing that happened there was I didn't have any passive income. And when I stopped getting income from my business, because I decided to leave as CEO, it scared the shit out of me. And I did something really stupid. This is in the beginning of 2020, and I went and bought a bunch of dividend stocks. Mind you, I had zero experience. I had not spent a bunch of time. I went to this website that promoted different dividend stocks, and I tried to generate, called $100,000 a year of dividends. Well, I put it in a bunch of these essentially higher risk, oil and gas investments. And I got shooken out. I made some investments I didn't like, and I got out of them pretty quickly, and it cost me about $10,000. Okay. So you might be thinking, okay, that's not that big of a deal, Darius. But for me, I realized very quickly that, it takes a lot of energy to go remake the money I've lost. And I've had opportunity costs around losing money. And I'm going to give you two examples right now. In COVID, I took my money out of the market during COVID, March 20th. I took the money out of the market because I, again, had no income coming in. I was negotiating my exit at TMS. And, negotiating with my partner around, getting bought out of the company. And I was in a bad headspace, and I saw the markets going crazy. And I was like, dude, I don't want to deal with this. And I got out of the market near the low and then went straight to cash. Now, everyone listening to this, you're like, oh, Darius, you're an idiot. You lost a lot of money by doing that. And the answer is, yeah, I left money on the table for sure. I probably lost, 7 figures by making that decision. But the next bad decision I made by getting out of the markets was it happened in the beginning of 23, end of 22. I had invested a lot of money in the market, that I got through my exit, and I got out at the beginning of 23, and I just missed this most recent run up in the market. The number one reason I did that is that I had essentially picked the wrong investment vehicle for myself. I shouldn't have been in the markets to begin with in the way that I was. Maybe a smaller portion of my investment could have been there. But when you start looking at, most money is lost in the markets in very short periods of time, and most money is made in very short periods of time. So you have to be able to just stay in it. And so I made the decision that I did not make the right decisions with the money I had, because for a lot of different reasons that we'll be talking about. But the biggest reason was the way I invested did not align to my personality. I was listening to a financial advisor that was doing what was best in their mind, but they didn't assess what was the right for my personality. And so everything I'm going to be talking about over the next few weeks really comes from this place of pain of, hey, what did I learn and why did I learn it? So again, we're going to be talking about how to think about investing, because I think that when people start, looking at investing, and I'm a very inquisitive investor. I'm somebody that wants to talk about or understand myself as an investor, number one. Number two, I want to know why we're doing what we're doing. So for me, why I got shooken out of the market those 2 times is I had too much of my liquid net worth in the markets, and I don't like volatility. I'm a person that understands the markets enough where I'll go watch the 10-year treasury. I go watch the markets. I go read the headlines, and I'm naturally kind of negative. I don't like the fact that we have 30 trillion plus debt in this country. And I look at the markets and know that a lot of the upside that's happened in the markets is because we print debt that is leverage against the market. So for me, I'm like, I don't like that. Now, one of the deceptive things there is if you make private investments, you are still investing in the markets. You just can't watch a screen that shows you the price because you don't have liquidity on those investments. So don't kid yourself. You're still investing. You just don't know what the price is. If you go to sell that asset today, and no one's there to buy it on the other side because the markets are illiquid, that'll tell you a lot right there. So anyway, I want us to spend some time thinking about, really, as entrepreneurs, how do we want to think about investments? Because I think that as you start to wrap your head around the concepts I'll be talking about, it's going to put you in a much stronger position in the coming weeks to think about how are you invested in the market? How are you investing for freedom in the future? And the only way to get there is to understand yourself as an investor and to start thinking about some of these things that I'll be talking about in the coming weeks. With that said, I know this is a little bit of an esoteric episode, but I wanted to share my thoughts because it's something that I was writing down this morning for this person I'm mentoring. And I thought, how are you going to be a better investor? And maybe it's something I should share with the audience. So until next time, peace out, everybody. Love you. This is part 1. I think we'll be doing this as like a 10-part, 15-part series every Friday for the next few weeks. And I hope you enjoyed. And we'll talk soon. Take care. Bye-bye. You are listening to The Greatness Machine, and that's a wrap for today. Listen, if you love what you heard, subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform that you're tuning in on, so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. We have tons of great people coming on, and we're stoked to have you here to enjoy it with us. Leave us a review. Tell us what you love most about this particular episode. We love getting the reviews. We love to see what you guys love most. And if this particular episode, made you think of someone who's leveling up in their business and in their life, print screen, share it with them. Leaders are the best givers. And after all, we're all here to support and grow with each other. And in case you want to see some of the fun behind the scenes shots or some of the things that we're doing, I'm actually writing about this in my weekly newsletter. Go to www.therealdarius.com and subscribe to my newsletter. We're talking about fun things like business and life and mindfulness and cryptocurrencies and gosh, I don't even know, everything and anything, but it's tons of fun stuff I write about. I try to get it out on a weekly basis. You can subscribe at www.therealdarius.com. And with that said, look, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I love you. Peace. We're out of here. See you guys on the next one.
She's my lover.